Coming to Kickstarter this June, John Haynes at Death's Door, the man who rules the world, takes on the Greek god of death in this action-packed all-new John Haynes comic book. Get your copy of the standard and variant editions of John Haynes at Death's Door and lots of other great stretch goal rewards on Kickstarter this June. I have to wonder, what is the purpose of the Black Manosphere? And the reason why I'm asking what the purpose of the Black Manosphere is because today, many of the males who are a part of the Manosphere really aren't doing anything at all constructive to help out other black men or build anything in the black community. Now, many of these males who are a part of the so-called Manosphere, they would rather sit here and play it safe, talking about celebrities and gender war topics and never really talking about anything of substance. Now, these individuals are more focused on getting views on YouTube rather than going out here and doing the original work that was a part of establishing the Manosphere. Now, I found that to be very sad because it was guys in the Manosphere who actually were the ones who helped me build my platform when things got started. I was out here and O'Shea Duke Jackson asked me to write some articles for him, and I used that money to be able to pay an black artist to design the cover for my book, Legendary Mad Matilda, in 2017. And in 2018, Your Obsidian helped me with the Sean James Initiative. Unfortunately, as time has passed, many of the black males in the Manosphere have walked away from the original principles of the Manosphere, which was to go out here and help sharpen other men, help build up other black men, help other black men improve their quality of life. And that's the whole thing that makes many of these Manosphere guys really sad. They have lost their direction as men, and I started to see that around 2018 and later in August of 2019 when I did the passport videos, trying to go out here and try to educate the brothers on why this whole passport narrative was destructive to black men. Unfortunately, when I went out here and presented those videos, it was members of the Manosphere who attacked me, members of the Manosphere who canceled me, and members of the Manosphere who looked to tear down my burgeoning channel and tearing down the Patreon that they helped me establish, all because I went out here and presented arguments that were meant to help young brothers understand that not every so-called foreign woman is a good woman. That's where the Manosphere, as I see it, really went into a wrong direction, because here was a man trying to help sharpen other men, and instead of working with that man, they looked to destroy that man. And that man was myself. And that's where, as I see it, the Manosphere went into a bad direction, and your Manosphere went from men trying to sharpen themselves and improve themselves as men, and went to become males who were losing their direction. Now, your Manosphere, as after they went out here and canceled me, they went out here and started focusing more, instead of on improving themselves and becoming men, and started focusing on getting the attention of women. And as these guys went out here focusing all of their attention on women, it all became about bringing women on their live streams, bringing women on their panels, and instead of them focusing on building, they started chasing clout, thinking that the flash of clout was more important than the substance of improving themselves as men. So that's where your Manosphere really started to lose its way. And instead of these men having forums where they were focusing on doing things like talking about group economics, focusing on talking about building black businesses, focusing on promoting other black-owned businesses, these guys were all focused on chasing clout, getting views, getting subscribers, and getting more popular. And that's where your manosphere really started to fall further into decline. And by 2020, when Kevin Samuels came along, that's when the manosphere went from a group of males looking to become men to a bunch of cheerleaders of another man. And that's where the manosphere really got disturbing, because many of these males in the manosphere went out here looking to create a covert contract with Kevin Samuels, thinking that if they bigged up Kevin Samuels on their platform and they started to copy Kevin Samuels, that Kevin Samuels would in turn put them over on his platform and go out here and make them stars after him. It's the same covert contract that a lot of women make with men. They think if they do things for a guy, eventually that guy will go out here and make them their girl and make them have a relationship with them. And that's what happened to the manosphere that rendered it basically useless, because instead of it staying on its mission with guys like me working towards building up men, working towards improving the quality of life of men, men sharing skills with each other, men sharing business connections with each other, men working towards building something, your manosphere turned into a whole thing that was like a clique of girls, and this clique of beta males went out here looking to clout chase, hoping to control the relationship sector of YouTube as related to the men's issues section. And these guys look to try to use Kevin Samuels as their avatar to be able to push their narratives as the only narratives as related to men and relationships. So that's when the manosphere basically was rendered useless, because at this point the manosphere had become compromised. And the manosphere had become compromised, one, because the manosphere lost its way as related to its mission. Two, the men in the manosphere stopped focusing on goals because they were focused on women. And three, many of the men in the manosphere got caught up in the hype for Kevin Samuels. And as they got caught up in the hype for Kevin Samuels, the entire manosphere lost all of its direction, lost all of its focus, and lost all of its purpose. So instead of the manosphere being an institution that could be used for black empowerment, your manosphere has become a complete clown show. And as this clown show has gone on, what we're seeing from many in the manosphere is them not taking things that are really serious in the black community as important priorities. Now, we recently had a mass shooting that took place at the Tops supermarket in Buffalo, and this white supremacist was targeting black people for his murder spree, but we have not heard a word from the manosphere regarding this subject, and I found that to be quite troubling, the same way the brother of logic and common sense found it troubling. Here we have a white supremacist who was planning the murder of black people and killed 10 black people, taking their lives with malice aforethought. And you would think the manosphere, in its original Mish platform, these would be the first brothers to come out here and say, hey, we need to go out here and defend ourselves. We need to go out here and take training with weapons. We need to go out here and stand up like men. But no, the manosphere isn't talking about defending the black community, because they say they're not a part of the community. And many of these guys, they are spending most of their time in Portobello and Zara, trying to buy themselves a cheap version of a suit to try to look like the late Kevin Samuels, and trying to play high value man in the red and white chicken place. And as they're sitting there in the red and white chicken place trying to play high value with Bonquisha and Monifa, they are sitting there saying they're not a part of the community, as they are sitting in the Arab-owned red and white chicken place watching white supremacists go and push into their community and going out here being terrorized by these white terrorists. And these guys are sitting there thinking only about trying to get a taste of Bonquifa's atomic waste while they're sitting there with a passport folder in their hands, sitting there talking about gender war topics. Meanwhile, white supremacists are raging a race war on black people. He's sitting here talking about gender war and sitting here talking about black women. Meanwhile, we have more important issues to discuss in the black community, such as protecting the black community from invaders looking to wage war on the black community. But these guys say they're not a part of the community, and that's what's really, again, troubling, because, again, if you have a black manosphere is supposed to be a place where men have their own private space, and in that private space, they are supposed to be discussing things like protecting a black community. That's what I thought the manosphere was supposed to be about. Men sharpening each other, men talking about serious issues, but it seems like our so-called black manosphere serves no purpose for black men. No, it is a place for black males to go out here and act effeminate, go out here and form cliques, go out here and clout chase, looking to get views and the attention of women, and not participate in a serious discourse where we are focusing on serious subjects of things that are of extreme importance. Because as I see it, if you couldn't make a video about the Tops supermarket, then you really don't understand how the black community was impacted by this and how this affected every black man, woman, and child. Because what happened at the Tops supermarket really shows how weak the black community is and how we have some dysfunctional individuals in our black community. And sadly, we've got a lot of them in the manosphere staying, like the brother of logic and common sense says, in the safe haven, thinking that this danger will not come to them. Many of these guys in the manosphere think that they're going to go get a passport and go overseas and avoid the dysfunction of the black community, but they don't understand white supremacy is global, and that the white supremacists who are oppressing us in the black community, terrorizing us in the black community, and looking to wage war on us in the black community, they are going to go out here looking to wage war on them if they try to escape. Because there is no way these black men can save themselves from white supremacy, because the white supremacist is waging a global war on black people, and we don't see men in the manosphere gearing up and preparing for war. No, we see black males standing around in cheap suits talking about their high value. Meanwhile, white supremacists are making hard targets out of black men, black women, and black children. But these guys are putting on suits talking about being a high value man, having a relationship with a non-black woman outside of the black community. And that's why I believe the manosphere is absolutely useless at this point, because the manosphere is not about helping to prepare and develop men out here to become better men, understand their roles as men in God's natural order, as providers, as protectors, and as stewards of the black community. Men who can establish territory and boundaries and protect that territory and boundaries from outsiders. No, these guys want to run from the black community, thinking they can save themselves by going outside of the black community, getting with all of these foreign women, not understanding that those people in those territories are not going to be amicable to them. No, those people see them as an enemy and will treat them as an enemy in the war that is going on against black people globally. So when I look at this manosphere, I don't see it as a useful anything anymore, just a group of useful idiots. And sadly, these useful idiots would rather play high value man, following the high value cult with the late Kevin Samuels, not understanding that this high value cult you're playing in, nobody cares about your suits, nobody cares about your clothes, because most of these white supremacists and their supporters, they don't see your value as related to your money. No, they see your color of your skin, and when they see the color of your skin, they see you as an enemy, and they see you as an enemy they can easily overpower, because you're distracted by talking about black women, talking about your dreams of getting with other women, and talking about gender war topics. Meanwhile, these guys are buying firearms and waging a real war on black people. But the manosphere is priorities is trying to get some Bonifa on Lucretia, or going overseas to get some other woman to drop a skid mark thong so that they can get a taste of the atomic waste, instead of trying to protect their space. These guys are completely lost, and they can't go past the territory of the gender war to understand the whole subtle politics of the race war. And sadly, that's why your manosphere is absolutely useless in 2022, because when I look at your manosphere, the priorities of these males is more about getting laid rather than trying to protect the community that they're still a part of. When I look at these guys in the manosphere, they're no different than the swirlers, no different than the divestors, and all of them have these delusions and dreams of living happily ever after outside of the black community. And these guys are absolutely useless at this point, because while they're sitting out here clout chasing for views, they are not viewing the world of the black community objectively, and that's what makes these guys absolutely dead weight and absolutely a waste of time to listen to, because as they're sitting there talking about the same topics over and over again about black women, the entire black community is not being told about serious issues going on as related to these white supremacists, as related to all sorts of things going on. These guys are in their own world. They are in some ways like the character in Beloved that Danny Glover played, putting their face in the buttermilk instead of facing the reality that black people need to be focused on other things rather than going out here and playing high value. Because if you don't understand your worth as a man, if you don't understand your role as a man, if you don't understand your role in God's natural order, you are going to fall into chaos. And that's exactly what the manosphere has become. Instead of it becoming a place for men to learn the male life skills and male survival skills, it has become a place of chaos. And it's become a place of chaos because the men who ran the manosphere are not leaders. No, the men in the manosphere are followers, and they followed behind women. Then they followed behind Kevin Samuels because he had more attention of women, and that really showed us how weak the males in the manosphere were, because men who are leaders can stay focused. Men who are leaders can stay on purpose. Men who are leaders can stay focused on their goals. And men who are leaders can go out here and finish their goals even in the face of adversity. I mean, even after the manosphere canceled me in 2019 for speaking against the passports, I still have been persevering, still been out here working, still been out here pushing. And again, men who lead are not looking to follow other men. Men who will lead are about setting goals. Men are measuring goals, meeting goals, and then working towards moving towards the next goal. And that's one of the things a man teaches other men, that it's about focusing on developing an agenda. And any man understands that, yes, while I need a space to work with other men, I also need to be understanding that I have to work with women who are working about building. And these guys are not about building anything, because in the couple of decades that we've had, not decades, but in the near decade, we have had this manosphere. This manosphere has come around and gone around and really hasn't gone anywhere. And that's why I say this manosphere is absolutely useless at this point, because when we look at, again, the situation with Top Supermarket, no Top Supermarket videos, no videos talking about self-defense, no videos talking about what we need to do as a community by closing ranks, how we have to stop being kind because people take our kindness for weakness. We don't see any videos talking about how black people can empower themselves from the manosphere. These guys have become opportunists looking to make fast dollars off social media, talking about the gender war. Meanwhile, we've got other issues that need to be discussed, and these guys say that they don't want to help out the young brothers or the young sisters. Well, I believe it is my job to help out the young brothers and the young sisters, help them move their lives forward, because if we don't focus on investing on our young brothers, they're not going to be able to do anything out here. And if we don't invest in our brothers, like I talk about in the man crisis, we don't invest in our men, they're not going to have any sort of purpose. So we have to focus on investing on these young brothers, getting them what they need, giving them information, working with them, sharpening them, developing them. That's all part of what we're supposed to do. I mean, you're absolutely useless if you don't want to help build up the next brother. And that's what the boomers used to do, say, I've got mine, screw you. But I can't say, I've got mine, screw you. No, I've got to make sure that that brother who comes after me has the information to keep what he has, because if I don't teach him what to avoid, like I did in many of my workplace videos, he's not going to be able to have a job. He's not going to be able to have a future. He's going to fall in a pitfall and get completely lost. And we should always be looking out for the next young brother or the next young sister, looking out for them, helping them out, doing what we need to do. But the manosphere doesn't want to do anything for anyone, and that's what makes this group absolutely useless. And as I see it, has practically failed at its purpose, because if your mission was to improve men, I don't see how men are improved when you've got guys forming a clique talking about they are high value but have no value to the so-called community that they want nothing to do with. If you want nothing to do with a certain community, how are you a high value to that community? That's the critical question I want to ask the members of the Manosphere, who always want to talk about how they want to debate, but I don't want to debate anybody because, again, like the late David Carroll says, you only debate your intellectual equals, and these guys have not shown me that they're on any intellectual level, because you sit there and complain about a community and talk about you don't want anything to do with it, but you don't mind getting the views and the money from that community. You don't mind getting people from that community coming and being on your live streams. You sit there and say you don't want anything to do with that so-called community, but the whole thing is, if it wasn't for that community investing in you, you wouldn't have the YouTube platform you have right now. And that's, again, the other contradiction of this manosphere, which renders it useless. I mean, you sit there and say you want the community to go, you don't want to be a part of it, but you are looking to them for views, looking to them for clout, looking for them for your base. But the whole thing is, you sit there in your Portobello suit that costs $50 talking about high value, but you really don't have any value to the black community, because if you're not about improving the quality of life for other brothers and sisters, changing the image of black people, sharpening other men and women in the community, then you serve no use to the community. And that's why I say your black manosphere is a useless institution, because as the only place it has any value is in that safe haven, but that safe haven isn't safe because these guys don't protect anything, don't provide for anything, and they have no use or purpose at all for black people. So that's why I say your black manosphere is nothing more than a complete and utter farce. Now, my new comic, John Haynes at Death's Door, is coming to Kickstarter, and I would like you guys to sign up for the mailing list by clicking the link in the description box. And if you want to pick up more of John Haynes' stories, you can also find them on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format, along with the other books in the SJS Direct universe, like the ISIS series, the E-Steam series, the Spencerella trilogy, and Eternal Night. And if you want to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.
Now available in paperback and e-readers, ISIS Legacy. The sorority secrets of the goddess next door are revealed in this all-new ISIS series adventure. Get ISIS Legacy in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere.